of statements that have been made.
Mr. recognized for 30 minutes.
Mr. Holt referred to our wounded folks in Walter Reed as tragic. They are not tragic. They're American heroes, and they are the people who have bought the freedom that allow us to have this debate today. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to yield some time to three unusual Americans on the Armed Services Committee who all have had sons serving in the Iraq theater, and the first gentleman is the gentleman from Minnesota, Mr. Kline, whose son has been a helicopter pilot in Iraq. And I would yield as much time as the gentleman wishes to consume.
He's recognized.
I thank the gentleman for yielding. And Mr. Speaker, of course, I rise today in strong opposition to this resolution. It occurs to me, Mr. Hunter, that I need to thank you not only for your service, but for your son's service in the Marine Corps. It's one of those little twists of things that I served my whole life in the Marine Corps, and my son is serving in the Army. You served in the Army, and your son is serving in the Marine Corps, and I don't know if we'll ever untwist that, but I thank you and him for his service. Mr. Speaker, the proponents of this resolution will have us believe that this resolution supports and protects our military personnel while criticizing the President for changing course. We've listened to several speakers today who, like me, served in Vietnam and witnessed firsthand the micromanagement of the war from Washington. Ironically, they stand here today endorsing the same incompetent policy of interference. Instead of President Johnson choosing bombing targets, however, we have 535 legislators dictating General Petraeus's reinforcement levels, yes, dictating his tactics. It was wrong in 1967, Mr. Speaker, and it's wrong in 2007. I notice that the distinguished chairman of the Armed Services Committee has risen several times today to point out his belief that what the President is doing is not a change of strategy, it's a change of tactics. And I would say to my good friend, that great gentleman from Missouri, that if that's right, if this is tactics, then in fact this resolution is trying to do just that, micromanage the tactics of this war. If congressional micromanagement were the only problem with this resolution, I would still argue vigorously for its defeat. But it is not the only problem. Understanding the purpose and intent of this resolution, its proponents have revealed their true intentions in the course of this debate. They intend for this resolution to be the first step on the path to defunding our troops, withdrawing them, and allowing Iraq to become a chaotic, ungoverned space that will act as a training ground for al-Qaeda and the radical jihadists that we are at war with. Though few in the West knew it, a new war had already begun during my days as commander of Marine Aviation Forces in Somalia. In the intense battle in the back alleys of Mogadishu that inspired the movie Black Hawk Down and the bombings of vulnerable U.S. embassies in Tanzania and Kenya captured America's attention briefly, but it took an unprecedented attack on our homeland for the country to realize what Islamic extremists had long known. The United States was at war, and I think Mr. Saxton did a very thorough and eloquent job of explaining the length and nature of this war. Every country was now a potential front, and every city a battlefield in the war against the enemy's war against Zionist crusaders and non-believers. Whether by design or not, Iraq has become the front in not only a physical war of attrition, but in the war of wills between free societies and Islamic jihadists who seek to destroy them. The proponents of this flawed resolution prefer to ignore reality. They believe that repeating the mistaken belief that Iraq is not a central front in the war against Islamic jihadists will make that perception real. Unfortunately, though, for those who hold this belief, the enemy, our enemy, has a say in the matter. Al-Qaeda's second in command, al-Zawahiri, in December 2006, made it quite clear where Al-Qaeda stands. In a video posted on jihadist websites, al-Zawahiri sent a clear message. Quote, "The backing of jihad in Afghanistan and Iraq today is to back the most important battlefields in which the crusade against Islam and Muslims is in progress, and the defeat of the crusaders there, soon, Allah permitting, will have a far-reaching effect on the future of the Muslim Ummah, Allah willing." We've heard repeatedly that Al-Qaeda and the hottest terrorists understand that Iraq is the central front in this war against radical Islam. Thankfully, the U.S. military